So, Barry, the Arizona Supreme Court grants Mays the request 90-day stay, allowing the 1864 abortion ban. The stay on the abortion ban. Tell us what this means. What does it mean? What happened today? And really, in layman terms, please.
Yeah, and I was in for Broomhead today, and actually had Chris Mays on.
Yeah.
And she mentioned this, so she didn't know the decision was going to come out today, but she knew she had asked. So the Attorney General asked the Arizona Supreme Court for an additional stay, really because the legislature has already repealed the law. So the issue is why enforce a law that has already been repealed? We know what the intent of the legislature is, and that's the intent of the people of Arizona. So what the Supreme Court did here is give Arizona the 90-day stay that she requested, and they did it under the kind of the rubric of, hey, and she put this in as a possibility that she may want to appeal their decision to the U.S. Supreme Court. She doesn't really need to appeal the decision to the U.S. Supreme Court, but that's a way procedurally to get the stay granted, which is the goal, right? I don't think anybody is looking, well, I shouldn't say nobody because the opponents are actually filing documents against this. But I think most of Arizona would agree if we're going to repeal this, and we have, the legislature has, why would we allow it to be enforced for a month or 2 months or 3 months when really the intent is to repeal it?
Does that as a legal strategy, does that hold a lot of water with courts?
Well, again, the Supreme Court is able – I think they could have issued their own stay, but they may look at this as procedurally more viable. And when you get up to the Supreme Court level, there's a lot of rules and laws in place about stays or just when and if they're going to do things. So I think they may have viewed this, the Arizona Supreme Court did, as kind of an easy out. You're going to file another – you may file another appeal. We're going to give you time to do that. Appellate courts do that all the time. Nothing unusual here. And the Arizona Supreme Court even said – we leave the door open to grant an additional stay later if requested.
All right. Barry Markson, KTAR legal analyst. Arizona's 1864 abortion law. We know the legislature repealed it. We know that the Arizona Supreme Court has been busy with this. Also, AG Mays with her requests of 90-day stay. What does this mean for Arizona women, Barry?
Just like practically.
Yeah, like 1864, will it ever go into effect? If it does, is it a month? Is it 3 months? Can you read the tea leaves? Like, what are we looking at specifically in terms of an 1864 being in effect in Arizona, and how long?
Yeah, well, and it's funny because the Attorney General today mentioned that in 1864, women also could not wear pants. So they had to wear dresses and skirts.
True.
So things are different. So from a practical standpoint, right now, there's a stay. The stay is in place, which means in Arizona there's a 15-week abortion law. You can have an abortion for any reason up to 15 weeks of pregnancy. After that, all abortions are banned, including there are no exceptions for rape and incest. The only exception is to save the life of the mother. So that remains at this point the practical law in Arizona. That'll remain in place until this mid-August deadline that the Arizona Supreme Court just put in place, unless the Supreme Court extends that deadline. We're waiting for the legislature to adjourn. So if the legislature, for example, were to adjourn tomorrow, the 90 days would be mid-August, and this would work fine. I don't think I'm that hopeful that the legislature is going to adjourn this week, but I think it could happen, and I've been told by Speaker Ben Toma that it'll happen hopefully by the end of the month.
And Barry, that's
no guarantees.
And again, I feel the need to. I've learned so much about how the Arizona legislature works. That's because anything that is signed into law, including the repeal of this, was a law that was passed of the 1864. Nothing happens until 90 days post end of the legislative session, because it's supposed to give opponents time to appeal or argue it.
Yeah, there's a couple of reasons, and Ben Toma told us that that's number one. It does give opponents time to appeal it, to do things legally if there's an issue. And then I think also, this one is kind of an easy one, but I think for a lot of laws, you got to get people ready. You have to get law enforcement ready. You have to, there has to be time to prepare for new laws sometimes. So that part of it's in there, unless it's an emergency. So unless it was passed under a special session or it was passed with a supermajority, it's not going to go into effect for 90 days.
All right. Yeah. Sorry, Barry. Well, so again, what's the worst case scenario for this? It's mid-August to what that 1864 would be in play?
So let's say worst case scenario. Let's say the legislature can't figure out the budget until the end of June. So now we go to June 30th. 90 days, July, August, end of September. So it wouldn't be until about October 1st that the repeal would be in place. Okay. If the Arizona Supreme Court doesn't extend their appeal, then from mid-August through October 1st, so for 6 weeks, the law would be 1864 law would be in place in Arizona. Now again, that could be appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court, who could issue a stay. The Arizona Supreme Court could extend their stay. The lower court, where the Arizona Supreme Court sent this back down for other issues, could issue its own stay if it decided to do that. So, and I asked Chris Mays today. We were talking about the practical application about it, and I asked, is anybody opposing her attempt to try to get this stay so it never goes into effect? And she said, oh yeah, there are people opposing it. So there are people who want this 1864 total abortion ban in place and being applied in Arizona at some point before the election.
But I think what we've learned is, with everything that's happened with the repeal from the legislature, what happened today, the amount of time that the 1864 law would ever be in play in Arizona continues to shrink.
Yeah, good point.
Well, that's absolutely true, and the amount of people it'll affect. But I think we'd all agree, if there's one woman who's pregnant and finds out she's pregnant, or finds out she's having a health issue that requires her to get an abortion that would otherwise be illegal in Arizona, even if it's only 6 weeks or 2 months, they don't want to be in that position. And we don't want to put anybody, the Attorney General said that the last thing we want to do is put anybody in that position where their health care is being affected. And that's especially when we all know this isn't going to be the law anymore.
Right.
Everyone's accepted it. Why are we playing with semantics at this point? But there are people who are still pushing it.
Barry, appreciate your help and also making sense of it today. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks, guys.
That's KTAR legal analyst Barry Markson.
So if you look at what Arizona has done, in terms of we're shrinking.
You know, I've been studying this.
It's hard.
It's not easy.
I'm just trying to be very simple about it.
I need simple.
Arizona, in what's happened over the last month or so, we've shrunk the amount of time that this 1864 ban would be in effect. And I look at it and say, that's a good thing. And here's why. I'll give you an example. Did you see what happened in Tennessee today?
Which part?
It was a Tennessee woman who was denied an abortion after the fetus's brain was not attached.
Oh, God.
They will not give her an abortion.
Because it's against the law in Tennessee. And her life is technically not in danger.
So she has something inside of her that is not viable.
Right.
If it was a miracle and that baby were to be born, which it won't, the absolute agony that it would be in.
Right.
This is the kind of stuff that we were hoping would never happen, because if we didn't get rid of this 1864,
I can't imagine a mother.
I can't imagine it either.
Having that, when you're thinking about the moms, how excited they are about a pregnancy, planning for a boy or a girl, things like. I can't imagine knowing that you're carrying something that is never going to be that child.
They said it is a fatal abnormality. And Tennessee, the state's anti-abortion law, it actually resulted in her losing an ovary,
a
fallopian tube, and her hopes for a larger family because she was denied an abortion. And that's the kind of thing that I've been talking about. Yeah.
Thanks for watching Outspoken with Bruce and Gaydos. Tap to watch more from KTAR News and click the button in the middle to subscribe.